Jiho Kang stood in the circular chamber of the Galactic Senate and felt the weight of 800 alien eyes watching him. The massive room floated in space above Proxima Centauri, its transparent walls showing the stars beyond. He had represented Earth here for 12 years, and he had never seen the chamber this hostile. The Vrelian delegate raised 3 of his 4 arms. His skin flickered with the purple patterns that meant he was speaking with authority. "We call for a vote on Resolution 4479, the Vrelian announced. His translator device turned his clicking sounds into words everyone could understand. Earth has shown it cannot be trusted with full Senate membership. Jiho felt his throat tighten. He looked around the chamber at the species Earth had helped over the decades, the Korthi, whose colony ships Earth had repaired. The Messin, whose trade routes Earth had protected from pirates. The Delvans, whose medical crisis Earth had solved with new vaccines. None of them would meet his eyes. Una Park, his chief analyst, sat in the Earth delegation box behind him. She was typing frantically on her tablet, her face pale. She had warned him this was coming, but Jiho had not believed her. How could the Senate turn on Earth after 30 years of cooperation? "The vote will now commence," the Senate chairman said. The chairman was a Brevok, a species that looked like floating jellyfish made of light. His voice echoed through the chamber with cold formality. The voting board lit up. Each of the 847 species had 1 vote. Green meant supporting Earth. Red meant supporting the Vrelian resolution. Jiho watched the board fill with red lights like blood spreading across white cloth. Red. 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 A few greens appeared, but not enough. The smaller species, the ones Earth had befriended, voted green. But the major powers all voted red. The Korthi voted red. The Messin voted red. The Delvans abstained, which meant their vote did not count. The final tally appeared on the enormous display screen. 623 votes for the resolution, 187 against. Resolution 4479 had passed. Earth's voting rights were revoked. Trade sanctions would begin in 90 days. Humanity was being pushed to the edges of galactic civilization. The chamber erupted in clicking, chirping, and humming as different species reacted. Jiho stood frozen. He had prepared speeches for this moment, arguments about fairness and law, but the words died in his throat. It was over. Back in the Earth delegation offices, Una threw a datapad onto the table. "It was never about our expansion," she said. Her voice shook with anger. "I found the real reason." Jiho sat down heavily. The office was small, barely large enough for the 5-person Earth team. Posters of Earth's oceans and forests covered the walls, reminders of home. "Tell me," he said. Una pulled up files on the wall screen. 3 months ago, our scientists announced the quantum Ansible breakthrough. Do you remember?" Jiho nodded. The quantum Ansible allowed instant communication across any distance. It had taken Earth's best minds 20 years to develop. "The Vrelians control 90% of faster-than-light communication in the galaxy," Una continued. "They charge massive fees. Every message, every data transfer, every video call between star systems goes through Vrelian networks. It makes them trillions of credits every year." Jiho began to understand. "And our Ansible technology makes their monopoly worthless," Una finished. "Any species can build our Ansibles cheaply. The Vrelians stand to lose everything. So they convinced the major powers that Earth is dangerous. They offered trade deals, technology shares, territorial concessions. They bought this vote." Jiho stared at the wall screen. It showed news reports from across the galaxy. Most were celebrating the vote. The headlines called Earth reckless and aggressive. The Vrelian propaganda machine had done its work well. "We have 90 days, Jiho said quietly. 90 days before the sanctions begin, before our ships are turned away from alien ports, before our people living on other worlds are expelled, before everything we built falls apart." Una sat down across from him. "What can we do?" We tried diplomacy. We offered to share the Ansible technology freely. We promised to limit our expansion. None of it mattered. Then we find another way, Jiho said. He felt something hardening inside him. Not anger exactly. Determination. Contact Earth. Tell President Choi I need to speak with him immediately. Tell him the Senate has made a mistake. Tell him humanity needs to remind the galaxy what we are capable of. Yuna looked at him with surprise. You think we should fight? No, Jiho said. Fighting is what they expect. Humans do not win by being predictable. We win by being creative. We win by finding solutions no one else can imagine. The Senate thinks they have defeated us. They think 90 days is not enough time for Earth to respond. They are wrong. He stood and walked to the window. Beyond the transparent walls, stars filled the infinite black. Somewhere out there, 12 billion humans lived on Earth. Billions more lived in colonies, on stations, in ships traveling between the stars. All of them were about to learn that their place in the galaxy was threatened. But Jiho had spent 12 years studying Senate law. He had read every treaty, every charter, every obscure regulation. The Senate had rules, thousands of them, built up over millions of years, and somewhere in those rules, there had to be a way out. Get me every legal scholar we have, Jiho said. Every expert on Senate procedure, every lawyer, every professor, every clerk who has ever studied galactic law. We have 90 days to find a loophole, and we are going to find one. Yuna smiled for the first time since the vote. Yes, Ambassador. Jiho turned back to the stars. The Varelians had made their move. Now it was Earth's turn, and humanity had never been good at accepting defeat. President Minho Choi looked at the faces around the emergency meeting table. Every important leader on Earth sat in this room, either in person or by hologram. Military generals, economic advisors, scientists, diplomats, all of them waiting for him to make a decision that would affect 12 billion lives. Options, Minho said simply. General Bach spoke first. We build a military fleet. Show the Senate we cannot be pushed around. We have the shipyards. We can have 200 warships ready within a year. And then what? Asked Finance Minister Yoon. We fight 800 species. Even if we win battles, we lose the war. They will isolate us completely, cut off all trade. Earth cannot survive alone. We could develop our own trade networks, suggested Ambassador Reyes through his hologram from the Mars colony. Work with the species that voted for us, build a new alliance. Yuna Park, attending the meeting as Jiho's representative, shook her head. Those species are small and weak. That is why they voted for us. They cannot stand against the major powers. Any alliance with them would be symbolic, not practical. Minho rubbed his temples. He had not slept in 30 hours. The news of the Senate vote had caused panic on Earth. Stock markets had crashed. People were demanding action. Some wanted war, others wanted surrender. Everyone wanted him to fix this. There must be something in the law, Minho said. Some legal recourse. We have 12 legal experts studying the Senate Charter, Yuna replied. So far, nothing. The vote was legitimate. Resolution 4479 does not violate any existing laws. The room fell silent. Minho looked out the window of the Seoul presidential complex. Below, the city stretched to the horizon, millions of people going about their lives, unaware of how close they were to losing everything. A knock on the door interrupted the silence. A young woman entered carrying a tablet. She looked nervous, her hands shaking slightly. I apologize for the interruption, Mr. President, but there is someone here who says she has found something. She insists on speaking with you immediately. We are in the middle of a crisis meeting, General Bach said sharply. I know, sir, but she showed me her findings. I think you need to hear this. Minho gestured. Send her in. Hana Lee entered the room. She was in her 30s, wearing a university jacket with the New Seoul University logo. Her hair was pulled back in a simple tie, and she carried an old-fashioned paper notebook along with her tablet. She looked terrified to be in a room with the most powerful people on Earth. "Mr. President," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "My name is Hana Lee. I teach constitutional law at New Seoul University. I have been studying the Galactic Senate Charter for the past 15 years. "Go on," Minho said gently. Hana took a breath and seemed to steady herself. "There is a clause, Article 14, Section 9. It is called the Citizen Petition Clause. I believe it might help us." She activated her tablet and projected a document onto the wall screen. The text was in the formal language of the Senate, dense and complicated. She highlighted a single paragraph. "This clause says that if 30% of a member species' population signs a formal grievance petition, the Senate must hold a binding referendum to overturn any resolution affecting that species," Hana explained. "The referendum would require a simple majority vote. If we win, Resolution 4479 becomes void." The room erupted in questions. Minho raised his hand for silence. "Has this ever been used before?" "Never," Hana admitted. "The clause was added to the Charter 4 million years ago by a species called the Pren. They believed in direct democracy, but the Pren went extinct, and no one has invoked the clause since." "Why not?" asked Minister Yoon. "Because it is nearly impossible," Hana said. "Most galactic civilizations are not democratic. Their populations number in the hundreds of billions. Getting 30% to sign anything is logistically impossible. And even if they could, most citizens would not care enough about Senate politics to participate." "But Earth is different," Minho said slowly. "Yes," Hana said, excitement creeping into her voice. "Earth's population is only 12 billion. We need 3.6 billion signatures, and humans have a history of grassroots organizing, of democratic participation, of coming together for causes we believe in." General Back frowned. "Even so, 3.6 billion signatures in 90 days? That is 40 million signatures per day, every day, for 3 months. And they must be verified by Senate systems, correct?" Hana nodded. "Each signature requires a biometric scan processed through official Galactic Senate verification terminals. It was designed to prevent fraud." "We have maybe 500 Senate terminals on Earth," Yuna said. "That is nowhere near enough capacity." "We can build more," suggested the technology minister. "The Senate provides open-source blueprints for verification terminals. We have the manufacturing capability." Minister Yoon pulled up calculations on his tablet. "Even if we build 10,000 terminals, we would need perfect efficiency. No downtime. Every terminal processing one person every 3 minutes, 24 hours a day, for 90 days straight. It is theoretically possible, but barely." Minho stood and walked to the window again. Below, the city lights were beginning to glow as evening fell. 40 million signatures per day. It sounded impossible. But what other choice did they have? "Professor Lee," he said without turning around, "what happens if we fail? If we do not get enough signatures in time?" "The petition becomes invalid," Hana said. "And according to my reading of the law, we cannot try again. It is one attempt only." "So if we try this and fail, we have wasted our 90 days," General Back said. "We could have used that time to build defenses, to prepare for sanctions, to negotiate separate deals. This is gambling everything on an impossibility." Minho turned to face the room. "It is also the only path I see that does not lead to war or isolation, and it is the most human solution I have heard. We are not going to outfight 800 species. We are not going to outproduce them, but we can out-organize them. We can show them what 12 billion people can do when they work together toward a single goal." He looked at each person in turn. "I am not ordering this, I am asking. Does anyone have a better idea?" No one spoke. "Then we try," Minho said. We invoke the Citizen Petition Clause. We ask every person on Earth to participate in saving our future. And we show the galaxy that humanity's greatest strength is not our technology or our military. It is our ability to trust each other. Yuna smiled. Ambassador Kang will be pleased. This is exactly the kind of creative solution he hoped for. Contact him, Minho said. Tell him to invoke the clause immediately. We start tomorrow. And we do not stop until we have 3.6 billion signatures or we run out of time. As the meeting broke up and people hurried to their tasks, Hana Lee approached the president. Sir, there is one more thing you should know. What is it? The Vrelians will fight this. They will look for ways to sabotage the petition. They will use every legal and illegal method to stop us. Minho nodded. Then we will have to be faster and smarter. Thank you, Professor Lee. You may have just saved Earth. Hana bowed and left. Minho looked out at the city again. Tomorrow, they would ask 12 billion people to come together. Tomorrow, they would begin what everyone said was impossible. Tomorrow, Earth would show the galaxy what humans could do. Taman O had organized political campaigns for 20 years, but nothing had prepared him for this. He stood in the Global Coordination Center in Geneva, staring at a wall of screens showing real-time signature counts from every region on Earth. The numbers climbed steadily, but not fast enough. Never fast enough. We are at 847 million signatures, his deputy announced. Day 15, we are 7% behind target. Taman nodded without taking his eyes from the screens. 7% behind meant they would fail. Simple mathematics. They needed to be exactly on pace every single day, and they were falling behind. The problem was not enthusiasm. People wanted to sign. The streets of every city were filled with lines of citizens waiting at verification terminals. The problem was infrastructure. Rural areas lacked terminals. Power grids could not handle 24-hour operation. Terminals broke down. The biometric scanners were designed for galactic Senate stations, not Earth's diverse climates. In the Sahara, terminals overheated and shut down. In Siberia, they froze. In coastal cities, humidity damaged the circuits. Taman's team fixed problems as fast as they arose, but each delay cost them thousands of signatures. Sir, we have a bigger problem, said Mireille, his communications director. She pulled up a news feed on the main screen. It showed a Vrelian broadcast being transmitted across the galaxy. The Vrelian spokesman clicked and chirped, his words translated into human language. We have discovered that Earth's petition violates Senate Charter Article 14, Section 12. That article requires all petitions to be submitted in the original language of the founding species. Earth is submitting in human languages, which makes the petition invalid. Taman felt his stomach drop. Is that true? Mireille shook her head. Our legal team says it is nonsense. Article 14, Section 12 applies to treaty proposals, not citizen petitions. But the Vrelians are flooding every news channel with this claim. People are starting to believe it. How many people have stopped coming to terminals? In the last 6 hours? About 2 million? They think there is no point if the petition will be rejected anyway. Taman turned to his team. Get me Professor Hana Lee. Get me Ambassador Kang. We need them to issue a statement immediately explaining why this is false. Already done, Mireille said. But the damage is spreading. The Vrelians have bots on every social network repeating the lie. For every truth we post, they post 100 lies. Taman made a decision. Then we do not fight on their ground. Launch Operation Grassroots. Operation Grassroots was his backup plan. Instead of fighting lies with facts on social media, they would bypass it entirely. He activated his communicator and connected to the network of regional organizers. This is Taman. I need every community organizer, every local leader, every neighborhood association to go door to door. Talk to people face to face. Explain the truth. Bring them to the terminals personally. We are shutting down our social media defense and going analog. Within hours, millions of volunteers took to the streets. Jinwoo Nam, a logistics coordinator in Busan, organized what he called signature caravans. These were mobile verification terminals mounted on trucks, buses, and even bicycles. They traveled to remote villages, mountain communities, and island populations that could not reach the static terminals. Jinwoo stood in a small farming village in rural Korea, watching elderly farmers line up at his mobile terminal. Many of them had never used galactic technology before. He patiently explained the biometric scanner, helped them position their hands correctly, and watched their faces light up when their signatures were confirmed. "My grandson works on a mining station near Jupiter," one old woman said to Jinwoo. "He sent me a message saying the sanctions would force him to come home. I do not want him to lose his job. This signature will help." "Yes, grandmother," Jinwoo said. "Every signature helps." The old woman smiled and signed. Then she turned to her neighbors and called them over. Come sign. This is how we protect our children." By the end of the day, Jinwoo's caravan had collected 8,000 signatures from villages that had contributed 0 before. He sent his report to Taemin and moved on to the next region. Meanwhile, Sora Kim was fighting a different battle. She was a content creator with 60 million followers, and she had turned her channel into a daily signature count broadcast. Every morning at 8 a.m., she went live. "Good morning, Earth," Sora said, her camera drone circling around her. Behind her, the signature counter displayed on a massive screen. "We are now at 1.2 billion signatures. That is 33% of our goal, but we need to go faster." She made it into a show. She interviewed people who had signed. She showed footage of the signature caravans. She created challenges, asking her followers to bring 10 friends to sign. She made it exciting, urgent, and personal. "This is not just about politics," Sora told her audience. "This is about proving that we matter. Every signature says I am here. I count. My voice matters. The galaxy thinks we cannot do this. Let us prove them wrong." Her broadcasts were watched by billions. Children organized signature drives at schools. Offices competed to see which could get 100% participation first. Neighborhoods held signature festivals, combining the verification process with food, music, and community celebration. By day 40, they had reached 1.9 billion signatures. They were back on pace. Taemin allowed himself a moment of hope. Then the sabotage began. In Jakarta, the power grid serving 30 verification centers mysteriously failed. Investigation revealed the failure was caused by malware inserted into the grid control systems. The malware signature matched known Vrelian cyber weapons. In Lagos, government officials suddenly announced that all verification centers needed new permits and would be shut down pending reviews. Those officials had recently received large deposits into their personal accounts from shell companies traced back to Vrelian financial networks. In São Paulo, a viral video showed a verification terminal allegedly rejecting valid signatures. The video was a fake, but it spread faster than the debunking could. Taemin worked 20-hour days putting out fires. His team countered the sabotage with backup power systems, legal challenges, and truth campaigns, but each attack slowed them down. By day 60, they had 2.8 billion signatures. They needed 3.6 billion in 30 days. The mathematics was brutal. They needed 40 million signatures per day for the next month. They were currently averaging 32 million per day. The gap was widening. Taemin sat alone in his office at 2 in the morning, staring at the projections. Every model showed the same result. They would fall short by approximately 800 million signatures. So close, but not enough. His communicator buzzed. It was a message from Ambassador Kang, marked urgent. "Taemin, I have an idea. It is risky and unprecedented, but we are running out of options. Can you get to a secure line?" Taemin called Kang immediately. "What is your idea?" The petition law says Earth citizens can sign, Kang said. We have been interpreting that as people living on Earth. But what about the 2 billion humans living off-world? The miners, the terraformers, the colonists, the researchers. They are Earth citizens too. Taman felt his heart race. The Senate would never allow it. Actually, I have been researching the law. There is nothing that explicitly forbids it. The definition of member species population has always included diaspora populations. We could argue that our off-world citizens have the right to sign. If the Senate agrees, Taman said, that is the risk. I need to bring this to a vote. If they reject it, we waste valuable days. If they accept it, we might have a chance. Taman looked at his projections again. 800 million signatures short. The off-world population was approximately 2 billion, but many lived in remote locations. If even half of them could sign. Do it, Taman said. We have no other choice. 3 days later, the Galactic Senate voted on Kang's proposal. The vote was close, but it passed. Human citizens anywhere in the galaxy could sign the petition. Now they just had to reach them, and they had 27 days left. Nari Huang had represented Earth's outer colonies for 8 years, and she had never felt more disconnected from her own species. She floated in zero gravity aboard the mining station Tycho 7, watching Earth through the viewport. The blue planet looked impossibly far away, though it was only a 3-day journey. The news about the petition reached the colonies slowly. Communication delays, limited bandwidth, and the fact that most colonists worked 16-hour days meant few had been following Earth's crisis. When Ambassador Kang's message arrived asking for their signatures, many did not even know what had happened at the Senate. Nari called an emergency meeting of the Outer Colonies Council. Representatives from Mars, Europa, Titan, and dozens of asteroid settlements appeared as holograms around the conference table. Earth needs us, Nari said simply. They need 800 million more signatures in 27 days. Without our help, the petition fails. Without the petition, Earth loses everything. And if Earth loses, we lose too. The sanctions will affect us. Our supply lines, our trade routes, our ability to communicate with home. Everything. Why should we care? Asked Counselor Mock from the Mars agricultural domes. Earth abandoned us. When the colony ships broke down, they took months to send parts. When the food shortage hit Titan, they sent thoughts and prayers instead of supplies. Now they need us, and suddenly we matter? Nari understood the anger. The outer colonies had always been an afterthought to Earth's government. Funding was limited, support was minimal, and colonists survived through their own hard work and ingenuity. You are right to be angry, Nari said. Earth has not treated us well, but this is bigger than past grievances. If Earth falls, we are alone. 2 billion humans scattered across the solar system with no home to return to, no central government to negotiate for us, no protection. The galaxy will pick us apart. The room was silent. Finally, Counselor Park from Europa spoke. What do you need from us? Everything, Nari said. We need to set up verification terminals on every station, every colony, every settlement. We need to reach the ice haulers in the Kuiper Belt, the terraformers on Mars, the deep space miners. We have 2 billion potential signatures out here. If even half sign, we can save Earth. We do not have Senate verification terminals, Mock said, and shipping them from Earth would take too long. Then we build them, Nari replied. The blueprints are open source. Every colony has fabrication facilities. We can manufacture terminals locally. And so they began. On Mars, engineers worked triple shifts building verification terminals in underground factories. On Europa, ice miners welded together portable terminals they could take into the subsurface ocean research stations. On Titan, atmospheric researchers rigged verification scanners to work through pressure suits. But the real challenge was reaching the scattered populations. Hundreds of thousands of humans worked alone or in small groups throughout the solar system. Ship crews, prospectors, survey teams, research outposts. Each person counted, but each person was difficult to reach. Do-Hyun Song was an engineer on a hydrogen refinery orbiting Saturn. His crew consisted of 17 people, and they had not seen another human in person for 11 months. When the message about the petition arrived, his first reaction was skepticism. "This is a scam," said his crewmate Yoonji. "They want our biometric data for identity theft." But Do-Hyun read through all the documentation. He verified the source codes. He confirmed the Senate legal documents. It was real. "We need to sign," he told his crew. "All of us." "Why?" Yoonji asked. "What difference do 17 signatures make?" "Because there are thousands of crews like us out here. If we all think our signatures do not matter, then none of us sign. But if we all participate, we could make the difference." Do-Hyun built a verification terminal using parts from the refinery. It took him 3 days of jury rigging and creative engineering, but he got it working. All 17 crew members signed. Then Do-Hyun did something unexpected. He used the refinery's quantum Ansible prototype to send a message to every ship, station, and outpost within Ansible range. The quantum Ansible was Earth's breakthrough technology, the same technology that had threatened the Vrelians and caused this whole crisis. This is engineer Do-Hyun Song from Refinery Station 17. I have a working verification terminal design that anyone can build with standard equipment. I am transmitting the blueprints now. If you are out here in the dark, alone, thinking your signature does not matter, you are wrong. Every single one of us counts. Sign the petition. Save Earth. Save ourselves. The message spread faster than light through the quantum Ansible network. Within days, verification terminals were popping up across the solar system. Small crews built them from spare parts. Research teams assembled them in laboratories. Even solo prospectors on tiny asteroids built crude scanners and transmitted their signatures. On day 79, Taemin-Oh watched the off-world signature count climb rapidly. It had started slow, just thousands per day. But as word spread and more terminals came online, the numbers accelerated. Day 80, 2.9 billion total signatures. Day 82, 3.1 billion total signatures. Day 85, 3.3 billion total signatures. The momentum was building, but time was running out. The projections showed them reaching approximately 3.5 billion by day 90, still short by 100 million. "We need a final push," Taemin told his team. "Something big, something that captures the world's attention and brings out everyone who has not signed yet." Sora Kim had an idea. "We make the last day a global event, a celebration. Make it fun, make it historic. Get everyone who has not signed to come out for one last massive effort." They called it Unity Day. Every city planned festivals around the verification terminals. Musicians performed. Artists created installations. Food vendors set up stalls. They turned signature collection into the biggest party Earth had ever seen. The message went out across all channels. If you have not signed yet, this is your last chance. Come to Unity Day. Be part of history. Show the galaxy what humanity can do when we stand together. On day 87, 3.4 billion signatures. On day 89, 3.59 billion signatures. Day 90 arrived. Unity Day began at midnight in each time zone and rolled around the planet like a wave. In Tokyo, millions of people lined up at dawn, many having camped overnight. In Berlin, the terminals operated continuously as crowds sang and danced. In New York, the signature event merged with a massive street festival. Taemin watched from Geneva as the numbers climbed. Every second, thousands of new signatures registered. The global counter ticked upward relentlessly. 360 billion, 3605 billion, 361 billion. The deadline was 11:59 p.m. Galactic Standard Time. That corresponded to 7:47 p.m. in Geneva. Tamin stood in the coordination center, watching the final minutes count down. His entire team surrounded him, silent and tense. At 7:45 p.m., they had 3.611 billion signatures. They had crossed the threshold. But signatures were still coming in from the outer colonies, delayed by communication lag. The final count would not be known until the very last second. 7:46 p.m., 3.612 billion. 7:47 p.m. The clock hit the deadline. The screens froze. The final count displayed 3,612,847,293 verified signatures. The room erupted in cheers. Tamin felt his legs give out and sat down hard. They had done it. Against every projection, against every obstacle, against every act of sabotage, humanity had collected 3.6 billion signatures in 90 days. His communicator lit up with messages from around the world and across the solar system. People celebrating in streets, colonists cheering in their stations, miners crying in their ships. Nari Huang sent a message from Tycho 7. The outer colonies delivered 847 million signatures. We are part of Earth. We always were. Thank you for reminding us. Do Yun Song sent a simple message. 17 signatures from Refinery Station 17 officially logged. It was an honor. Sora Kim broadcast live from Seoul, tears streaming down her face. We did it! 12 billion people came together and proved that every voice matters. This is humanity at its best. Tamin allowed himself 1 minute to celebrate. Then he stood up and addressed his team. Good work, everyone. Now comes the hard part. We have to win the referendum. Get some rest. Tomorrow we convince the galaxy to vote for us. But tonight, for this one night, Earth celebrated. They had achieved the impossible. Now they just had to do it one more time. Jiho Kang stood before the Galactic Senate once more, but this time the atmosphere was different. The chamber buzzed with conversation, and the alien delegates actually seemed interested in what he had to say. The petition had done something unexpected. It had made Earth interesting. The referendum will proceed in 3 days, the Senate chairman announced. Each member species will cast one vote. The question is simple. Should Resolution 4479 be upheld or overturned? Ambassador Kang, you will have 1 hour to present Earth's case. 3 days. 72 hours to convince 424 species to change their votes. Jiho needed half of them, and he had no idea how to do it. The Vrelians launched their campaign immediately. Their representatives spread across the Senate station, offering deals and making threats. They reminded everyone why they had voted against Earth in the first place. Humans were dangerous. Humans were unpredictable. Humans could not be trusted. Jiho sat in the Earth delegation office with Yuna, trying to develop a strategy. We cannot outbribe them, Yuna said. We cannot offer what the Vrelians can offer. Then we offer something they cannot, Jiho said. We show them what the petition demonstrated. We show them what democracy looks like. But how? Jiho had given speeches before, passionate speeches about fairness and justice. They had not worked last time. Why would they work now? The answer came from an unexpected source. Ari Chung was a 24-year-old delegate from the lunar colonies, the youngest member of Earth's Senate team. She had been quiet during most meetings, but now she spoke up. We are approaching this wrong, Ari said. We keep trying to convince them that we deserve their vote. But what if we showed them that the petition itself is the argument? Jiho looked at her. Explain. The petition proved something the galaxy has never seen, Ari said. 3.6 billion individuals, each making a personal choice to participate in their own governance. Not because they were ordered to, not because they were paid to, but because they believed their voices mattered. That is revolutionary. The Senate does not care about revolutions, Yuna said. Maybe they should, Ari replied. Because when we were gathering signatures, something else happened. Other species noticed. I have been monitoring galactic news feeds. There are protests on 16 worlds demanding their governments explain why they voted against Earth. Citizens are asking why they cannot petition their own governments the way humans petitioned theirs. Jiho pulled up the news feeds. Ari was right. On Kortha, a major industrial world, workers were demanding the right to petition against unsafe labor laws. On Messin, students were organizing demonstrations asking for education reform. The citizen petition clause, dormant for millions of years, was suddenly being discussed everywhere. The other governments are scared, Jiho said slowly. They are worried about their own populations getting ideas. Exactly, Ari said. So we do not ask them to vote for Earth as a favor. We remind them that the galaxy is watching. We remind them that billions of beings across hundreds of worlds are seeing what happens when citizens have power. And we ask them, do you want to be on the side that supported that power, or the side that crushed it? It was risky. It might backfire. But Jiho had no better plan. The referendum debate began. The Vrelian representative spoke first, repeating the same arguments about Earth being dangerous and unpredictable. His speech was polished and professional. Then it was Jiho's turn. He walked to the center of the chamber and looked around at the assembled species, beings of every imaginable shape, size, and biology. 800 civilizations, each with their own cultures and histories. I am not going to ask you to vote for Earth, Jiho began. I am not going to beg for mercy or promise favors. Instead, I want to tell you a story about what happened over the past 90 days. He activated a holographic display. It showed footage from Earth. Elderly grandmothers in rural villages learning to use biometric scanners. Children organizing signature drives at schools. Miners in deep space building verification terminals from spare parts. Millions of people standing in line, sometimes for hours, just to add their name to a petition. 3.6 billion signatures, Jiho said. Each one represents a person who chose to participate, a person who believed their voice mattered. We did not achieve this through force or coercion. We achieved it through trust. Trust that every individual counts. Trust that democracy works. Trust that when people are given power, they will use it responsibly. He paused and looked directly at the delegates. Many of your species have never experienced this. Your governments are oligarchies, monarchies, or corporate hierarchies. Your citizens do not have a say in decisions that affect their lives. And for millions of years, that system worked for you. But something changed 90 days ago. The hologram shifted to show protests on alien worlds. Citizens carrying signs in languages Jiho could not read. But the message was clear. They wanted change. Your citizens are watching, Jiho said. They saw what humans did. They saw 3.6 billion ordinary people come together and demand their voices be heard. And now they are asking, why cannot we do the same? Why do our governments make decisions without us? The chamber was completely silent. Every delegate was paying attention now. This referendum is not about Earth, Jiho continued. It is about a principle. The principle that citizens should have power over their own governance. The principle that democracy is not a weakness, but a strength. When you vote today, you are not just voting on whether to overturn a resolution. You are voting on whether you believe people should have a say in their own futures. He turned off the hologram. I know some of you are afraid of what that means, afraid that giving your citizens power will lead to chaos. But I ask you to look at what we accomplished. Not chaos, not disorder, but the largest coordinated democratic action in galactic history. That is what happens when you trust people. Jiho returned to his seat. There was no applause in the Senate chamber, but he felt the energy shift. He had said what he needed to say. Then Ari Chung stood up. She was not scheduled to speak, but she walked to the center of the chamber anyway. My name is Ari Chung, she said. I was born on the moon and have lived my entire life in space. I have never breathed Earth's air or felt its gravity. But I signed the petition because Earth is not a planet to me. Earth is an idea. The idea that ordinary people like me matter, that our voices count. She pulled up her own hologram. It showed a young Korthi worker, an alien species, being interviewed on their homeworld. This worker was asked why she was protesting, Ari said. She said, "I saw what the humans did. If 3.6 billion of them can sign a petition, why cannot we ask our government to listen to us? That is what you are voting on. Not whether Earth deserves a second chance, but whether you want to live in a galaxy where that worker's question is answered with yes or no." Ari sat down. The chamber erupted in clicking, humming, and chirping as different species debated among themselves. The Senate chairman called for order. "The debate period is complete. We will now vote. The question, should Resolution 4479 be overturned? Cast your votes." The board lit up. Green for overturn, red for uphold. Jiho watched the lights appear, his heart pounding. Green, green, red, green. The smaller species, the ones Earth had befriended, voted green immediately. But then something unexpected happened. The Korthi delegate voted green. The worker protests on their world had worked. Then the Delvons voted green, then the Messens. The major powers were split. Some voted red, loyal to their Vrelian alliances, but others voted green, worried about the unrest on their own worlds. The counting seemed to take forever. Finally, the results displayed. Overturn resolution. 4479, 449 votes, uphold resolution. 4479, 398 votes. Earth had won. The chamber erupted in noise. Jiho felt Yuna grab his arm, both of them too stunned to speak. They had actually done it. Against all odds, they had convinced the galaxy to change its mind. In the days that followed, the implications became clear. 15 species filed their own citizen petitions, invoking the same clause Earth had used. The Galactic Senate, for the first time in millions of years, was being forced to reckon with the idea of direct democracy. The Vrelian ambassador requested a private meeting with Jiho. The alien arrived looking subdued, his skin patterns neutral. "We underestimated you," the Vrelian said simply. "We thought the petition would fail. We thought even if it succeeded, the referendum would not. We were wrong." "Yes," Jiho said. "We would like to propose a partnership on quantum Ansible technology," the Vrelian continued, "as equals, a joint venture. We provide our distribution networks. You provide your technology. We split the profits evenly." Jiho considered. 3 months ago, he would have rejected any Vrelian offer out of pride, but he had learned something from the petition campaign. Winning was not about revenge, it was about building a better future. "We accept," Jiho said, "on the condition that the Ansible technology is also made available to developing species at cost. No monopolies, no price gouging." The Vrelian's skin flickered with surprise, then respect. "Agreed." They shook hands, or rather Jiho shook one of the Vrelian's 4 hands. Later, Jiho stood at the viewport of the Senate station, looking out at the stars. Yuna joined him. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "I am thinking about 3.6 billion people who proved that democracy is not just a form of government," Jiho said. "It is a weapon, one that requires no armies, no threats, no violence, just the courage to trust that when you give people power, they will use it wisely." "And the galaxy is learning that lesson now," Yuna said. "Yes," Jiho replied. "We did not just save Earth, we changed the galaxy. Not through force, but through example. That is the most human victory of all." Down on Earth, Unity Day had become an annual celebration. Every year, billions of people gathered to remember the 90 days when humanity came together and proved that every voice mattered. And every year, more species across the galaxy joined them, celebrating their own citizen petitions, their own democratic victories. The Galactic Senate turned against Earth, and Earth responded not with weapons or threats, but with a ballot measure. And in doing so, humanity taught the galaxy that the true power of democracy is not just in the vote itself, but in the trust it represents. Trust in people. Trust in each other. Trust that together, ordinary citizens can achieve the impossible. That was the lesson. That was the victory. That was humanity's gift to the stars.